Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily. Ronnie Rance alongside Tommy Chrysan on this Hump Day edition of Sports Shorts Daily. We got a full schedule for you: Wednesday, Thursday, Friday this week of Sports Shorts Daily. Since we're out Monday and Tuesday, TK over at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, and I'm coming to you from the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame studios, where we got a big announcement in about a week, a little over a week. We will be announcing the 2024 Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame induction class. You're going to be excited about that list. And we're presented by LeBear's Casino, the Barstool Sportsbook at LeBear's Casino. This will be an opening week of the NFL. A lot of action going on over at the Barstool Sportsbook inside LeBear's, and no better place to watch the games on the east side of the river. TK, of course, we're going to talk about LSU. They went in as anywhere from a 1.5 to 2.5 point favorite, depending on what you locked in at. They led at halftime and then, of course, had the disastrous second half. I was there. I'll give you some takeaways from being there, as well as thoughts on the game that hopefully a little different than maybe what some folks have said. We know that September 16th, LSU will play Mississippi State at 11 a.m. in Stark Vegas. So a little breakfast there, which means Sports Shorts Radio will be on later that night at 7 p.m. LSU in Grambling this Saturday, sort of a lackluster opening. It was going to be, the opponent didn't matter, but if LSU had beaten Florida State, everybody would be fired up for, Saturday's game, the first home game. Now it's like, wah, wah, wah. I am fired up about the 2:30 Tulane Ole Miss game. Ole Miss -7. -7 sort of Ole Miss is a favorite there against the Tulane Green Wave, but Tulane, TK likes their chances at home. Saints, a field goal favorite against the Titans at noon on Sunday in the Dome. We'll talk about that plenty more in the next couple of days. And some news regarding Paul Skeens. For those folks that might have been flying up to Altoona, Pennsylvania for the Thursday Skeens versus Cruz matchup in the minor leagues, cancel your flight. We'll tell you why. Let's first talk a little LSU football for a minute. Tommy, I know I'm not that old. I'm only 51, but can't remember. And I've got a pretty decent memory. I can't remember an LSU football team that just completely was dominated like that. The difference between one half to the next. I mean, they had a 17-14 lead going into halftime, which was really about right. And what I mean by that is, LSU fans will say, well, we dropped some passes, we didn't score. Yeah, well, so did Florida State. I mean, Florida State had dropped a couple of balls, that wide open receivers that were going to go for giant plays that would have changed their perspective of the first half. LSU, of course, didn't get it done in the red zone, but okay, you were up 17-14. Maybe you should have really been up 21-14, but regardless, it was a sloppy first half for both teams. A lot of woulda, coulda, shoulda. You knew the second half was going to be a coin flip like the game was. When it's a 1.5 to 2.5 point line, that's a coin flip. But for the LSU to be dominated, completely and thoroughly dominated in every way in that second half, it was so different from the first. I can't remember a game ever like that.
It was definitely different. It was like night and day. We can pull out all the analogies there, but and it kind of brings up the question: were any halftime adjustments made? Did the players kind of email it in near the when it got down by more than 2 scores? I mean, it just didn't look good. And Brian Kelly said yesterday when he met with the media, he met yesterday because Monday was Labor Day, that this team wasn't what he thought it was, and he meant mentally. And then he started talking about all the freshmen out there and all the transfers. Well, you know what? You knew that in August 1 when you started fall camp. So it's up to him and the staff to go ahead and fix it right away, because it was disappointing. There was a lot of reasons to be disappointed about that LSU game. And here's the thing. We'll get right back to Florida State. But this Saturday against Grambling, you can't get good news. I mean, if they win 63-0, they were supposed to. If they only win 14-10, you got bad news. Or if Daniels throws 3 picks, you got bad news. The only news can come out of this Saturday is bad news. Now, it is the very first time ever they play in Grambling, but, that's getting lost in the shuffle. But that Florida State game, they got beat on the line of scrimmage. We talked about the wide receivers from Florida State being very good and their quarterback's very good. We saw that. The weak spot of the LSU defensive secondary, it proved out to be the weak spot. And then Derry Beckwith, who knows football as well as anybody, he talked about Harold Perkins being on the inside, and he was there because they're trying to develop him for the NFL because he can't play on the outside of the NFL. He doesn't weigh over 215, 220 pounds. Well, LSU is supposed to win LSU football games. They really handcuffed Perkins. I think he had 5 tackles. Their quarterback, I don't think was hurried one time, was never sacked. So there was no pressure on the quarterback. And you give a guy like Travis with his experience and them big receivers who have experience, time, and 9 out of 14 on third down for Florida State. 9 out of 14. That's not going to work. So a lot of work to do. Get on a drawing board. He said they're going to meet in the middle with this Harold Perkins thing about getting him outside, letting him affect the quarterback. I mean, and again, we're not going to be able to know anything from the Grambling game other than bad stuff. And I'm just being honest.
Well, the whole meet in the middle thing, I mean, we thought we were going to see that in game 1, and we didn't. Derry Beckwith had been predicting that he thought they would move him around a bunch and put him outside in some pass rushing opportunities. They didn't. They didn't meet in the middle. And, I'll give you an analogy with baseball. Trey Morgan was a guy who, remember, they got him some looks in left field. He played a good bit in left field this year for LSU. Some of that was trying to showcase that he could play outfield for his own draft purposes. And others, it had to do with, that was a way to get others in the lineup by moving him there. You could play guys at first and things like that. But the reality is that I think we can all agree Trey Morgan's best position defensively is first base. The guy is special at first base. The guy is just a regular dude in left field. And so, again, it comes to LSU football. Hey, Harold, we'll let you play middle linebacker a little bit so you can show the NFL that you have the ability to play that. But we're going to play you outside a lot because that's how you can change the game. And that's how you can, that's how he became a star, by the way. We wouldn't know Harold Perkins' name if he was playing on the inside. So do what you do best. It's like if you're a running quarterback, be a running quarterback. Don't try to throw just see if you can't throw. You get exposed worse that way. Bizarre game, bizarre second half. The crowd was definitely 75-25, Florida State to LSU in Orlando. Not a shock, but it felt like a home game, maybe even more 80-20, but it felt like a home game for Florida State. The horse on the field with the chief with the flaming spear, I would have loved to have seen that in Tallahassee where you stick it in the ground and all that kind of stuff. But it's cool, man. That's one of the cooler traditions, in sports. I'm just glad I got to see that. I've always enjoyed watching that on TV and whatnot. To me, it's right up there with the whole Cornhusker thing. I mean, the Oklahoma Boomer Sooner when it runs out, or the Buffalo when it used to run out, and things like that.
I think the War Eagle at Auburn flying in.
That's pretty cool.
Pretty serious. That whether you like Auburn or not, that's damn cool to see that bird fly in like it does in front of 100,000 people. How many people are there? That's but no, that's one of the pageantry and one of the great things in college football. And the spear, the horse with Florida State's their thing.
No, I get. Right now you're getting two sides to this takeaway from fans, right? You're getting the ones that are saying fire Brian Kelly and the extreme knee jerk, and he's saying others saying, well, like Todd McClure said, well, Florida State, they might end up, playing for the national championship. They're really good. I think, yeah, okay. I do think that Florida State is a good team. We knew they were a good team. They're preseason top 10. Their story's similar to LSU. They got a lot of returning players. They got returning quarterbacks. They transfer portal success, blah, blah, blah. But to me, LSU did not play well in the first half, left a ton of points out there, was sort of lackluster, hadn't really gotten it going. Their offensive line couldn't get anything done. When they needed to run the football, they couldn't, and yet they still had the lead at halftime. To me, it's more about what LSU did the disaster that LSU is. The offensive line, even though they have 2-3 guys that are going to be playing in the NFL for a long time, they're not there yet. They're disappointing. Daniels, we just assumed, we all did, that 250 days later, 275 days later would do a lot of good just naturally. And we're always making that mistake in sports. We always think that, well, a year older or 300 days later simply means that we're going to see this giant step forward, whether it doesn't matter the sport. We think, well, just because they go from a sophomore to a junior or from a junior to a senior, that, we're going to get this massively different player. Not the case. Not the case. He's still light in the seat. He still doesn't know how to really stick that head in there and get that extra yard. He still makes some silly mistakes. Lacey dropped 2 balls, maybe 3. I mean, how wide open? How do you ever drop? You catch 1,000,000 balls. You're a professional, by the way. Let's not talk about don't ease up. They're college students. No, they're not. They're professionals. You catch 1,000,000 balls. You got these freaking gloves that OBJ can catch one-handed blindfolded with. I mean, how are we dropping passes? How do you drop more than once a month? With a pass. I mean, come on, man. If you can't, then you're just a big dude who's an athlete. Go learn how to be a long jumper. Go learn how to be a decathlete, because you're not a wide receiver if you just drop passes. I don't get it.
Well, you got to want to catch the ball, and you got to focus. I mean, I've never played wide receiver, never will. But, I mean, I'm like you. I mean, I get it if it's way over here. But, when it's in that window, I mean, and plus, people who have never touched the gloves that these kids wear, it's stronger than Velcro. Okay, I mean, if you put your hand on the wall, you got to pull your hand off of there. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
People would be stunned if they could really touch one of those gloves if they've never done it before. But that's all part of get back to the drawing board, change the mental thing. The physical thing's there. They wouldn't be wearing an LSU uniform if they didn't have physical ability. But it's mental. Now, you got to want to catch the football. You got to want to pick up when you're first and goal on the 1. You got to want to push it into the end zone. It's Jaden Daniels. I'm guilty of what you said. I expected Daniels to be much better because of the time, the experience, and he's been around for 5 or 6 years, whatever it is. And I didn't see that he was that much better as I was anticipating, and why, I was thinking, I said many times I thought their toughest game of the year was Florida State. Well, we'll see if that ends up being true going forward. And then, Todd McClure talking about Florida State, Ronnie, Duke embarrassed Clemson the other night. Florida State looks like a path to the ACC title is right in front of them. A lot of ground to cover, but, I think Florida State's going to win a lot of football games. And then, of course, you got everybody saying, well, they lost Florida State last year, still won the SEC West, still got to Atlanta. Well, let's put all that on the back shelf. And again, we're going to learn nothing Saturday against Grambling. We're going to learn nothing good at all. Then you got to go to Starkville for an 11 a.m. kick on the 16th of the month. Then you're going to learn a little bit more.
The game was. I was really surprised by the offensive line. I mean, that they got no push. Whenever it was obvious that they needed to run the football, they couldn't. So the run game was non-existent. Special teams, we've got 5 stars and we've got NFL guys and we've got all these stud athletes. How the kick game, how we can't return kicks and punts and be special, not just okay and average, which we're not. Special. It blows my mind, Tommy. We got special teams coordinators making $500,000 a year. We got pro stud 4 or 5 stars, and it just makes no difference. It makes 0 difference. It's special. It's like you got to call a fair catch and get out of the way and let the ball roll. It's sad.
Right. A quick side note: in the Clemson Duke game the other night, I saw the stat. Clemson had 35 4 or 5 star players on their roster. Duke had 2. Duke beat 28-7. So, but I'm like you. Special teams is too important, especially in the SEC and in Power 5 football. I mean, when you're special team, you have to have that contribute. Jerry DiNardo kind of coached LSU fans up on that you got to have good special teams. It can make a difference in a game or two or more during the course of a 12-game schedule. So, a lot of work for Brian Kelly and the staff to do to clean some things up. And, I listened to his presser yesterday, and he said about what you figured he would say. You and I have seen a million pressers. And he's going to do the same thing when he has the radio show this week, and he's going to talk about how great Grambling is, and they're not. They're not an SEC caliber team. And, but, hey, it's up to LSU to look in the mirror and get it fixed.
The LSU loss in the second half was a disaster and shocking and embarrassing. And, the difference between last year and this year, I mean, by the way, when LSU scheduled Florida State was, I think it was back when Jimbo was still there and they were still, a dude. And then they went away and we thought, can't believe we got Florida State now after they're not good anymore. And then they beat them twice. This whole SEC, ACC thing, I mean, the SEC, unbelievable. It's shocking to me that in the NIL transfer portal world, that teams that like Clemson, the Power 5 big boys, how they're just not automatically separating between the top and the bottom. The Duke win was impressive. I mean, Clemson, how's Clemson not – they were a 13-point favorite. They get beat by 21. But how's Clemson that bad offensively? I mean, again, in this day and age, the Clemson brand is strong. How are they not just loaded up with players? How is Duke able to beat them and deservedly so, beat them handily? Just shocking. Absolutely shocking. The biggest story, of course, was Colorado. The biggest story of the week. Here locally, it's LSU's, a terrible showing. But nationally, the biggest story is Colorado. What Deion Sanders did and his first game in Colorado is unbelievable. And I know you all of a sudden are like on the Deion bandwagon. You got guys winning the whole deal.
Well, I've been on the bandwagon since I saw all the videos this summer. But Travis Hunter played 119 snaps, right? He had like 11 catches. He had a key, very athletic interception. Shedeur Sanders threw 510 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. And TCU played for the national championship last year. Now, I know every team's different every year, and they lost players. I get that. But, they were at home, their season opener. And Colorado just came in there and said, now, did Deion get a little too cocky in the postgame? I thought so. Do you believe me now? And he called out the writer, Ed Werder. I got the receipts. I saw what you wrote and all this, that, and the other. And now, Ronnie, a month ago, they were 7.5-point underdogs against Nebraska this week. They're now 3-point favorites. That's a 10.5-point switch. Now, Colorado's at home, and I'm going to tell you what, I ain't going to wait for Sports Show's radio on Saturday. Get all over Colorado. I'm on the wagon. They're going to – Nebraska was terrible, and they covered the spread, but they lost to Minnesota. I mean, Colorado, I don't know if they're for real, but I think they're going to be for real this Saturday.
Well, they're sold out. All their tickets sold out in the spring. I mean, this isn't a new development. It's a small stadium, but they sold out their tickets, season tickets. And I agree with you. They're healthy. They're coming off of the biggest game. And there's two ways you can go about it. You can go about, well, they're not used to success and they're going to have a letdown game. I don't think they're going to have a letdown game this week because they're at home, right? I mean, it'd be different if it was the other way around. They went on the road. They won on the road, and week one, when we made so many excuses, I heard a lot of this about LSU, right, or about Clemson. Well, you could tell it was week one. It was sloppy. It was disorganized, mistakes. Colorado didn't look like they had a problem week one, throwing the ball for 500-plus yards on the road against TCU. So, save that argument for somebody else. You're talking about Sanders, who's a veteran quarterback, who's got skins on the wall, who's been good for 3 years. I agree with you, Tommy. How can you not take Colorado this week in that game? And that's going to be the biggest game of the week. Everybody's going to be all over it.
Well, it's an 11 a.m. kickoff. So come to the Barstool Sportsbook to watch us do radio. go over there to the window and place your bet. Big, small, doesn't matter. But so we're going to tell people, come on out Saturday. We'll be in the Barstool Sportsbook, and you can make that bet. It's 11 o'clock kick, so get it going. And I don't know that line, it's not going to move a little bit between now and the weekend. We'll just have to wait and see on that. And, of course, we're here tomorrow. We're here Friday. We got radio Saturday, so we'll keep you posted.
We mentioned Mississippi State, 11 a.m. in Stark Vegas. We'll tell you some Starkville jokes next week when we get a little bit closer to that. A little breakfast in Stark Vegas, which means we'll be on Sports Church Radio from 7 to 9 p.m. on Saturday, September the 16th. Tulane at Ole Miss this weekend. Tulane looked the part on Saturday. They took care of business. They were dominant in their win against South Alabama. You and I both like Tulane. We both took Tulane this past weekend. They were a 6.5-point favorite. This time they are a 7-point dog at home against Ole Miss. Where are you leaning?
Oh, I don't know where I'm leaning yet. I mean, yeah, Tulane. I said that was the bet of the year. I said that on the radio. Tulane over South Alabama, and it worked out. But Ole Miss scored 73 points, and I know it was against Mercer. I mean, most people don't even know where Mercer is. I think it's in Georgia. I'm not sure. I know, but it's Lane Kiffin. He played 3 different quarterbacks, and we got everybody out there. And now they're going to come into Ullman Stadium. I would expect it to be very crowded. I mean, come on, Tulane fans, show up. And Ole Miss is going to bring some people. They love coming to New Orleans, and they're going to follow the Rebels, and they're high on the win. So I don't know. We'll have that by the time it's a 2:30 kick Saturday. We'll have that certainly by the time we get to Sports Shorts Radio Saturday morning. But I got to look into that because the quarterback of Tulane, I watched the game against South Alabama. He got banged up a little bit, his left knee, and he was limping pretty good. And I thought they may not run him out there at the end. They had the game won, and they ran him out there anyway. I was a little surprised at that. I mean, he was more than a little bit of a limp in his giddy up there. So I'm sure that knee has gotten a lot of attention since that game. And Michael Pratt's going to want to be out there against Ole Miss, no question. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't have a pick for you today.
Macon, Georgia, by the way, where Mercer is. All right, so LSU baseball fans, I got to be honest, Tommy. I contemplated going Paul Skeens versus Dylan Cruz in Altoona, Pennsylvania. The two players are on opposite minor league teams. They're playing each other 6 times this week. And Paul Skeens was scheduled to pitch on Thursday against Dylan Cruz. They actually had made T-shirts and were going to give away like 500 T-shirts or something like that on Saturday. Skeens versus Cruz T-shirts to the first 500 fans at the game. I don't know if they're still going to do it, if they made them yet or not. But that's going to go away because the Pittsburgh Pirates organization has shut down Paul Skeens. He is done for the offseason. They're going to get him ramped up in a throwing program, a weightlifting program, whatever they're going to do, and get him ready for spring training. They're not going to put any more wear and tear on his body or arm this year. They've seen enough, they said. Disappointing, though, that they did it now and that we're not going to get to see Skeens versus Cruz.
Well, they're showing that their first round pick is very important in the investment they made. But according to the Pirates, he checked all the boxes in single A and double A ball that they wanted to see. He got ripped in one of his double A outs. He didn't get out the first inning, but he checked all the boxes. They've seen everything they wanted to see out of him. And the word is we're going to shut him down. And as you said, just begin training him physically and mentally. And it's basically telling you he's going to be on the roster next spring when they break camp and have a full season with the Pirates. I mean, what do you throw, 175 innings at LSU, and then he's thrown another 30 or so in the minor league. So they're protecting their investment. Unfortunately, there's some LSU fans that have already made arrangements to go to Altoona. Hey, go check out Dylan Cruz and support minor league baseball.
Let's see. There was some talk that he may not throw at all, by the way, this summer. Like, when they drafted him, there was some talk that might be the case. It wasn't. I'm trying to look right here and I'm trying to get you the innings that Skeens threw at LSU this spring, and that number is
ballpark of 160, 165.
By the way, I want to give you his numbers again, just 'cause it's so crazy. No, it's not 122 and 2/3. Here was his numbers: 122 and 2/3 innings. He only gave up 72 hits. He struck out 209 batters in 122 and 2/3 innings, and only walked 20. Tommy, that is a 10-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio. Opponents hit 165 against Skeens, and he had an ERA of 1.69. Like, I mean,
Well, that's why you get $9.2 million in your first pick in the draft. I mean,
and
come on.
Spikes.
But Roddy, you and I, we love college baseball. We both played it. It's mind-boggling numbers. It's numbers that have never occurred before. And look, from Ben McDonald on, there are a lot of great pitchers at LSU. I don't mean good pitchers. I mean great pitchers, many who went on to long big league careers. None of them put up those kind of numbers. I don't know what that means for Skeens going forward. We'll let it play out, but it's just mind-boggling numbers that just make you shake your head. No different than Cruz on base every game that he played this year. Not only did he play in every game, he got on base in every game. I mean, two of the best players in the history of LSU baseball, no question.
Amazing.
Among a long list of many, dozens of great LSU baseball players.
We will talk some Saints tomorrow. As the Saints have their opener at noon against the Titans. That's going to be a good game. The Saints are a 3-point favorite, coin flip game at home. Looking forward to it. TK, tell us about Tremonti's as we get out of here.
Well, if you're tailgating for high school football or the LSU game, going to people's houses or having people come over, they've got all the catering items you need. Large group, small group, does not matter. Tailgate party packages. Go to Tremonti's.com or stop by on Jefferson Highway in Baton Rouge. Lasagna is the lunch special today. If you got a taste for that, you can check it out. Get everything you need for the weekend, from wine to whiskey to meat, seafood, hamburgers, you name it. 20 different flavors of sausage. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Jefferson Highway, Baton Rouge, right down the street from Parkview Baptist Church and School. Connect on Facebook and Instagram. Do stop by Tremonti's. You'll be glad you did.
He's Tommy. I'm Ronnie. Thanks for watching Sports Shorts presented by LeBear's Casino. Please like and share. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. Central Time for more Sports Shorts presented by LeBear's Casino.